Numa was released on June 11th, 2009. It was the second DLC Zombies map for World at War. However, it wouldn't be until 13 years later when it would finally reach its full potential. Now, Vanguard Zombies is such a bizarre case, and before we discuss Numa Reborn and the improvements and design philosophy behind it, we need to differentiate Vanguard. Because I'm sure, as many of you know, Vanguard Zombies is widely regarded as the worst zombie mode from Treyarch. Many who don't prefer the modes from other studios even rank it lower than Exo Zombies. And it isn't hard to see why, as it had quite possibly the worst launch of any Zombies game to date. And while Modern Warfare Zombies has become basically abandoned at this point, with no substantial or new or improved content added, Vanguard actually did. When I highlighted the Archon a few months back in my video discussing Vanguard Zombies, I made a distinction. A very important differential between the objective maps and the round-based maps. Because despite a lot of assets of the game being similar between them, the design philosophy and gameplay mechanics are not the same. Duran Fong and Terra Maledicta do not play at all like Numa or the Archon. Even though Terra and the Archon use the same layout, they play completely different. Because it's not about if there are reused assets, it's about how those assets are reused. Whenever you see people ranking zombies or reacting to maps being ranked...
Basically, this game launched in such a terrible state, like it was missing so many key features to zombies.
Coming in dead last, the very bottom of the barrel, Vanguard Zombies, yay! I have never played it, shame on me, a Zombies YouTuber who hasn't played all the zombies, I know. And two, I've never even seen anything about it.
Number 38. On my tier list, Vanguard Zombies. The final map, I think the Akron, is a round-based map. Yeah, it has Numa on it, so I'm putting all of Vanguard here at 38. Literally any single map on Vanguard Zombies, I would rather play anything else that's on this list.
So many tend to throw all of Vanguard into the same boat, but this couldn't be further from the truth. Because for those who don't like the objective-based zombies of the last 3 games and want that classic style of gameplay with a truly new gameplay system, allow me to show you what you may have been missing with Numa Reborn. The classic Numa layout is one that became a very popular template for many maps to follow. Shadows of Evil, Dead of the Night, and Firebase Z would all borrow from its concept of a central hub building or an area branched off into different paths that lead into ends. All of the maps that followed would always either have overlapping walkways or fast travels to make getting out of these dead ends easier depending on the map. But the original Numa, once you committed to going down a pathway, if you were in the middle of a round, you had little option to escape. This made it so you had to be very careful when you moved from one area to the next. Once you bought your perks from each of the huts, you typically never returned to them, unless you either lost them or needed to hit the box that moved to that location. And with the random perk mechanic introduced on this map, it encouraged each of the huts to be visited at least once to try and get Juggernog. But in most matches on World at War, most players don't even bother going to all the other areas if they manage to get Jug or Speed Cola at the Flogger pathway or Comms room. Due to the difficulty of the zombies in World at War and BO1, and the lack of a pack-a-punch, traversing the watery areas which slow you down is a big risk. The Black Ops 3 version, you could pack your gun, but you needed to use gobblegums to do it. Numa Reborn doesn't simply bring back this classic layout, it adds to it, and places importance to every part of it. The most important aspect to this is how the perk system works. In Vanguard Zombies, there are 5 perks. Fiendish Fortitude, which acts as Jug, Venomous Vigor, which makes your health regenerate faster, Diabolical Damage, which makes you do more damage to critical points like the head, Demonic Frenzy, which is Speed Cola, and Ethereal Haste, which is Stamina Up. With each of these perks, 4 of them will be randomized in the huts, while Juggernog will be in the center building, making it to where you'll always have it be at the center point to return to and continuously venture out to all the parts of the map. Because in Vanguard zombies, the perks have tiers, where you can buy them up to 4 times and they gain a level and become more powerful. The first purchase is free, the second is 2,500, the third is 5,000, and the fourth is 7,500. And by the 4th tier, these things are very powerful. Almost as strong as the Cold War perks were, but the difference here is that they are upgraded and earned in each match, meaning that there's a good progression of difficulty as the zombies get faster and do more damage. So too will you become stronger as you upgrade your perks. This does 2 things. The first is give a real use to the excess points you accumulate. As if you remember, in Cold War, by the 20s, you already had everything, and have so many points with almost nothing to spend them on, because of the new point system. This means there's a reason for the point system being this way, as you're actually spending them on something for much longer. The second major reason this is a good system is, as you progress through the rounds and need to buy and upgrade your perks, you're constantly moving to all the different parts of the map, keeping the flow of the game from stagnating and making sure there's player movement. You typically won't have enough points to get every perk maxed out until the 30s, and that's if you're only focusing on perks and don't even bother to pack a punch. Which brings us to the biggest addition and innovation of this classic layout, the Pack-a-Punch machine and the new area it resides in, the dig site. I feel Treyarch has always done a good job when it comes to adding new areas to older maps they remake. And Numa Reborn is no exception, because the new pack area isn't just a new tacked-on location, it's a useful pathway that improves the flow of the map perfectly. Each of the 4 huts have paths of varying degrees of difficulty to reach them. Each path also gives something to the player that helps them either stand out or traverse them easier. The fishing hut has the flogger and the long bridge, the doctor's quarters has the zip line that avoids the water, and the comms room has a boardwalk that can help, but on the left side it can get a bit dangerous. The storage pathway is by far the most treacherous. Many players in older games would avoid going this way at all if they could. It has the narrowest paths along with water on the edges that can't be avoided in any way. The new dig site is positioned in the perfect place between both the comms room and storage areas, giving the most dangerous area and tightest path on the comms room side a perfect addition to make going to each of these locations not only safer, but better, as now neither are dead ends and have an escape route halfway through both of them. The dig site itself is also a great new training area, as the fishing hut path close to the flogger was the only real area that was viable for training. Now there's an entirely new one that gives much more options to players in co-op matches. The perk system does a great job at giving the player a reason to move around the map, but the additional side quests and Easter egg puts value on every single area. All of the sections have either a part or a side quest to do. The biggest component of this is the side quest to acquire the Wunderwaffe. The original was monumental in introducing the zombies community to this iconic weapon, and Reborn gives us the opportunity to build and construct it ourselves. The center building contains one of the 3 parts of the cipher wheel, the first step of the Easter egg. Venturing to the fishing hut, you pick up the gun barrel to the Wunderwaffe itself. Then the comms room has you charging one of the vacuum tubes of the weapon with the barrel used as a conduit for electricity. This gives a fun little defend the antenna from the zombie step, which introduces the players to 2 of the 3 new enemies for Vanguard zombies, the Boomschreier and Stormkrieger. Now, it's important to note that the game makes a point to describe these enemies as if you're seeing them for the first time.
I call the screamers Boomschreiers. Emphasis on the boom. I call the big ones Sturmkriegers. They know how to shoot.
Because the developers were very aware that much of the community avoided Vanguard zombies because it wasn't round-based. And this is a clear indication that for any players coming to the game for the first time to play round-based, to get accustomed to these new enemies. The Boomschreiers are explosive zombies that detonate when you get close, and Stormkriegers are hulking, slow-walking zombies with a wind-up minigun. These aren't meant to really down you, as they're only really dangerous up close when they can hit you. They're only meant to whittle down your armor from a distance. Their weak points are their head and backpack of ammo. Once the barrel charges the tube, you may retrieve it along with the barrel itself and an electrical part piece. Moving through the new dig site, another main quest part for the cipher wheel is found here. Then the storage, where the second vacuum tube and broken trap in need of an electrical piece reside. Here you charge up this tube using the souls of zombies with the electric trap. Then, when round 15 arrives, so too does the third and final special enemy of the map, Zabala the Deceiver. Setting aside the mechanics she had when she was originally introduced in Terra Maledicta, she has been reworked into a much better enemy. One that changes your playstyle to fight her without being too difficult to kill. Zabala is the anti-camping boss zombie. She attacks you with energy mines that can only damage you if you're standing still. As long as you're moving or move out of the way when the mine is placed, she cannot hurt you. Even if you get up close, it's only about getting you when you're not moving. Shooting her in her mask is the way to damage her. Shotguns and snipers work best. Here is where this map uses its boss mechanics expertly in its Wunderwaffe Quest. In the center building, there's a Tesla coil connected to the final vacuum tube. To charge it, you need to use Zabala's attacks to power up the coil. This right here is an ingenious use of gameplay mechanics and getting the player to learn the boss and use them to their advantage. With all three tubes, you can craft the Wunderwaffe. What this quest does is incorporate every aspect of the game into one. You defend from the special enemies, you use the traps, and you trick the boss zombie into giving you their power. This is a simple to learn yet intuitive quest that shows the developers know how to make well-designed mechanics when put into the right usage. The Doctor's Quarters gives the last part of the cipher wheel along with a code sheet to start the main quest. What this quest does well is give a challenge, but also map interactivity to each part, using the Wunderwaffe, the Flogger to fill up a cauldron, giving players in a co-op match a unique step for all of them, encouraging participation, and a boss fight that provides a decent challenge, along with a very good setup for the final map. The story of this map, in terms of modern zombies, is actually alright, with little details around, along with many radios with decent world building and a major twist and revelation that connects to chaos. The banter is probably the best on this map, and the focusing on Ceraxis is a good contrast as the Echo and Zabala are the primary bosses here. Besides the use in the Wunderwaffe building process, the best method of dispatching her is with her counterpart. Cleverly, the energy mine ability one-hit kills Zabala, giving a good incentive to use it as it's typically the last picked special in both Cold War and Vanguard zombies. A big improvement on Cold War systems is the merging of armor station and crafting bench into one, which helps in streamlining the gameplay and making it so much more intuitive, including a better method of navigating the menus without accidentally walking away from it when you need to access it mid-round, which was very annoying in Cold War. The placement of the crafting bench also gives a great incentive for two opposing parts of the map, the fishing hut, which is very close quarters, and the dig site, which is very open. You don't realize the importance of the placement of these things until it's mid-round in a long game and you need to get to one quickly to repair your armor. Speaking of importance, the placement of each of the main gameplay mechanics in each pathway is expertly done. The Doctor's Quarters has the Easter egg monolith, the storage has the Wunderwaffe crafting bench, the dig site has the Pack-a-Punch and boss fight, and the comms room has the Altar of Covenants, and fishing hut, the Tome of Rituals. These are the primary new mechanics of Vanguard that give Numa Reborn its own true identity. The Tome of Rituals is a book for which you upgrade your specialist ability, like Energy Mine, Frost Blast, and Ring of Fire. Unlike Cold War, where once you leveled it up in the menus, they were always upgraded, giving that game no sense of progression after that point. In Vanguard, you upgrade it in each individual match, just like the perks. This is what makes a map have good progression, because everything you have, you gain by earning it in the match itself, not by any other means like crystals, gobblegums, or battle pass levels. The way you upgrade this along with the new Altar of Covenants is the third type of currency Vanguard has, which I already described in my last video going over this, so here's a refresher. There are 3 types of currency in Vanguard Zombies: points, salvage, and hearts. Points are spent on guns, perks, and pack. Salvage is spent on armor, grenades, and kill streaks. Hearts are the new currency, and they have 2 very unique things that can be bought with them: your Specialist and the Altar of Covenants. The Specialist wands from Cold War return in this game, and like in previous, they have upgradable tiers. Much like the perks, once they're fully upgraded, they become quite powerful. Here in Vanguard, however, they start off on the lowest tier and have 4 levels to upgrade, the final tier being on par with the maxed out Cold War wands. The hearts are used to upgrade the Specialist ability through the book. After each objective is completed, the player earns 1 heart. But as I'm sure you've realized, after 5 objectives, the player would have enough to already max out their ability, so that doesn't seem very deep. This is where the secondary thing the player can spend hearts on comes into play: the Altar of Covenants. The Altar of Covenants is one of the most interesting additions to the Zombies game mode, and so few have ever mentioned it. What it does is it gives the player additional gameplay modifiers. These have such a wide range and cover so many different elements the player could use. There's the ability to do more damage when stationary or moving, one that allows the player to constantly regenerate ammo from the reserve, never needing to reload guns like LMGs, a covenant that gives more melee damage and regenerates health per kill, and even one that does constant percentage damage to all nearby zombies. There are so many of these that suit so many different playstyles. The most notable of these is that all of the classic double pack abilities are now covenants, such as Dead Wire, Cryo Freeze, and Brain Rot. The idea of taking these once double pack abilities tied to one single weapon and making them inherent abilities for the player allows them to also be upgradable. Fascinatingly, some classic perks also return as covenants, the most important being PhD, now called Explosives Expert. With this covenant fully upgraded, the player not only deals more explosive damage, but takes no explosive damage. So, now that we have that refreshed, this system works amazingly on the round-based maps. Numa and the Archon far better than the objective ones, because you earn a heart every 3 rounds, but the covenants available rotate every single round. So in a way, it's all about what kind of player you are. What suits your playstyle, and do you care more to upgrade your Specialist first or gain covenant abilities? Player choice is what Numa Reborn, and by extent the Archon, do so well. The perk system gives you so many options that you wouldn't think of. For example, if you were to focus on upgrading diabolical damage to, let's say, level 3 or 4 before getting Pack-a-Punch, you'll come to realize that headshots with level 3 and 4 on an unpacked gun do more than a single packed weapon without the perk at all. What this does is give avenues to the players that don't want to focus on packing just yet. Maybe they want to buy all of their perks first and gain some covenants. Or maybe they care more about Pack-a-Punching and their Specialist. The depth of the gameplay and the freedom of choice is what this system gives you. And to say that it's just as bad as Duran Fong now is a complete dismissal of a surprisingly deep system. The changing of returning mechanics from Cold War actually gives the game mode more of a challenge. Weapon rarities do nothing but make guns feel weaker without them, making the system basically a second pack system which takes far longer and is way more tedious than packing 5 times from BO4 that so many complain about. All Rarities was an excuse to dump all the salvage you earned into that system, not to use for armor or the myriad of things to buy from the crafting bench. Here, there are no rarities. There's a different system that really puts the player in a position to choose what they spend their points on wisely. The wall weapons over time become upgraded to pack-a-punched versions. Now that may seem like it's an easy out to working on getting points built up to use the pack-a-punch itself, but that couldn't be further from the truth. If you want to spawn in with any weapon you want, you have to work on packing it all the way. But you also have to work on your perks too, so you'll never be as overpowered as you were in Cold War. But if you want to get a wall weapon late game, they will cost you a lot, and I mean a lot of points. So even if you get Great Covenants, a fully upgraded Specialist, and a Wunderwaffe, there's always going to be something to spend those points on. And talking about the wall weapons, a majority of all of the wall weapons here mirror the originals from World at War, something that the BO3 version really dropped the ball on. Numa Reborn isn't just a good map, it's an amazing one. And that's not in spite of it being in Vanguard, it's because of it being in Vanguard. It took one of the worst received games with systems that nobody liked or understood and made it into a deep, replayable, and frankly, fun experience. There's a reason why I put this map as high as I did when I ranked it, because I've actually played it, and it's worth it for the old refinements and new innovations. It made Vanguard Zombies worth it. It proved that even the lowest lows can be gotten out of if the devs are willing to put the effort in to make something work, which is something that Modern Warfare 3 Zombies has failed so far to do. There's more that I haven't even mentioned, like the secret bunny Easter egg to get the free ray gun, the zombie head side quest to get a box of goodies, the returning Easter egg song, along with the Samantha max ammo quest and accompanying second music track. But most notably, the Rampage Inducer from Cold War Zombies as a little side quest. To get it, just shoot these lanterns in the spawn in this order. Numa Reborn has the atmosphere, the mechanics, and the gameplay to stand out and give players who never have played Vanguard a reason to. And what I'd do is go to your local GameStop or just get it at a bargain bin deal for like $10, because this is an amazing map, and along with the Archon, which is a decent one, I think it's worth $10 for both. You'd pay $5 for an amazingly fun map, wouldn't you? The one thing it does well is give classic zombie players what they want. A good layout, a fun gameplay loop, new elements that only add, not take away, and a quest that gives new life into this classic map. It really is reborn again.